Get down.
If you haven't seen this video before, it is American Reflexxx. It's a YouTube video that explores gender and society, as well as group mentality and violence. But before I get into that, I want to give a brief summary of affect theory. A bit of background. Affect theory was coined by psychologist Sylvan Tompkins. The theory is about experience and emotion, and as Abby Kluchin describes, it's kind of like an energy and charges that affect the body. It's an objective way of thinking of emotions as something transmissible that can circulate in and among and through bodies. There are 9 primary affects, according to Tompkins, and those are joy, interest, surprise, anger, disgust, dismay, fear, and shame. They are experienced by all humans, any age, any background, according to this theory. In fact, Tompkins theorized this based on studying his own child's emotions. I also want to point out that this theory is more of a collection, a lens to use to analyze ourselves and others. There's no concrete statement, if you will, which is personally what made the concept so difficult for me to understand. So back to understanding the video. Sarah Ahmed wrote The Cultural Politics of Emotion. Through this, she gives insights to emotion and responses based in affect theory. Her book is a very in-depth analysis of affect and what its causes are or can be. In chapter 4 of The Cultural Politics of Emotion, she illustrates the performativity of disgust. There are quite a few reasons to feel disgust, but the one I want to focus on is about borders and the transformation of borders into object. Ahmed is a little unsure about what the relationship between disgust and transformation of borders into objects is. She tries to come up with reasons. It could be sickening. She brings up like more physical borders, like the skin that forms on top of milk. But she finds it very ambiguous as to why borders being transformed into objects is disgusting. So why does this relate to the video? The girl in this video is Signe Pierce, and as she walks along we can see how the crowd interacts with her. There's a lot of disgust in the crowd. My theory for this would be that she is representing an improper gender, similar to what Gail Rubin describes in Thinking Sex, Notes for a Radical Theory of the Politics of Sexuality. What she's representing isn't typical. It isn't a proper gender representation. And while we are never sure of her gender, people make assumptions based on the size of her feet and the general shape of her body that she isn't female. As she walks, people are constantly questioning her gender, saying horrible and transphobic things to her, saying sexual things to her. And I feel like this is a response to their disgust. Their disgust of her embodiment of the border between the gender binary, between man and woman. Um, the longer this goes, the more this feeling of disgust increases through the crowd. She's being harassed and eventually is assaulted as a result. So this is a good representation of affect theory. We see the affect going through the crowd. It starts with one person and it continues until eventually it's just everyone in the crowd is projecting their emotions. And we have to realize as a society that these affects permeate our lives, whether we realize or not. And it's something that we have to learn to recognize and to combat.